Okay, welcome along everybody to the final session of Journalism Media Week 2022. The final session, oh yes! Well done for, someone can't get through the door. I'll open the door for him, hold on. There we go, okay. So look, thanks very much for your attendance right the way throughout the week, of course. We really appreciate it. We've got an excellent final session for you this evening, ahead, of course, of his set in the Student Union Bar a little bit later on, which is going to be spectacular. Please put your hands together for the legendary Hacienda DJ, Graeme Park!
Thank you. that's quite a nice welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure having you here, Graeme.
Thanks for having me.
We really appreciate your time and looking forward to a little bit later on as well. I just want to, if we start really on how you got started in music initially and where your love of music and the artists that sort of like inspired you at a younger age.
Good question. Well, I was born in 1963, but remember buying my first record in 1969, 1970, which was a T-Rex record. So my mum used to always have the radio on. My mum used to be a singer. My grandfather, my mum's dad, had his own orchestra. He gave me his clarinet when I was 11, actually. So I ended up playing clarinet and hated it. So I saved up and bought a saxophone and played saxophone in a band. But I always loved music. My mum used to have a really good collection of old Motown records and Stax records. So that was kind of the soundtrack to being brought up. And then early 70s, glam rock. Oh, I loved it. Sweet, T-Rex, Mud. Not the most
to a lesser extent.
To a lesser extent. And then I think I was probably about 13 when Roxy Music were on Top of the Pops. And that was like, what the hell is this? Men in glitter and makeup and stuff. And Virginia Plain, I think it was. If you're not familiar with Virginia Plain by Roxy Music, unbelievable. And then at the age of 14, 1977, punk rock comes along. Totally embraced it. But because of being brought up listening to kind of Motown and Stax, I always had a love for kind of R&B or like black music. Now, all my friends at school, at high school in Kirkcaldy in Scotland, were really into progressive rock, which I just hated. Genesis,
Procol Harum.
Yeah, all that. I hated it. I mean, now I'm older and look back, I think I actually get it now. I think this is really clever stuff.
Yeah.
But when I was 14, I thought, why are you listening to this boring nonsense? Listen to the Damned, listen to the Buzzcocks, listen to the Clash. And of course, I was always like interested whose people's inspirations were. And so we listened to the Clash. They did reggae as well as kind of angry punk. And then if you listen to Radio Clash and Rock the Casbah later on, towards the end of the 70s, early 80s, I'm thinking, these are disco records. So I've always had this kind of eclectic taste. And then, of course, bands like the Talking Heads and Blondie, they ended up doing kind of disco stuff. And then before I know it, I'm in the background, I'm playing in bands. And before I knew it, I was working in a record shop, playing in a band, saxophone and singing. And, because I was working in a record shop, I had access to loads of new music. I was also in charge of the second-hand department, so I managed to get my hands on amazing records that I'd heard of but never heard. And then next thing I know, the owner of the record shop buys a nightclub, the Garage. Well, it was the ad lib, but he immediately called it the Garage. He said, Graeme, I want you to DJ in my club. And I went, no, I work for you. I work for you in the record shop, and I play in a band. No. I was 19. He's like, if you're not going to DJ in my club, you're not working in my record shop. Now, obviously, nowadays you go, well, no, you can't do that. But I'm 19, I had the best job in the world. I'm like, oh, God. All right, I'll give it a go. And honestly, I'd never DJed before. And that first night at the Garage in Nottingham, I'm like, yes, I'm loving this. Because I was literally playing music that I really liked whether it was an old disco record or an old soul record or an old Clash record, and also playing contemporary stuff. And at the time, that was like Human League, Cabaret Voltaire, Heaven 17, ABC. They all had 12-inch club mixes, and just blending everything together. This was pre-hip hop, pre-house. I thought, this is the job for me. I love it, because at the end of that first night, the £25 I got was mine. Whereas when I play in a band, when I did a gig with a band, you had to hire a van, you had to help set the PA up or add to the PA that was already there, pay the drummer's girlfriend to do the door, and at the end of the night, once you paid for everything, you'd be lucky to have £4 or £5 each. And so after about 3 or 4 months, I remember turning up to a rehearsal for the band one night, and this band, the last band I was in, we supported the Blow Monkeys, we supported some other kind of big acts, and we had some interest from record labels. And I turned up to a rehearsal one night. Where's your saxophone? I went, yeah. The thing is, I've not got my saxophone. I thought I'd come and tell you in person. I'm leaving. I'm going to concentrate on being a DJ, which didn't go down well. And I thought I'll give the DJing a go, see where that takes me. And that was 1984.
And it's taken you quite a way, hasn't it?
Well, it took me a few years to actually go, yeah, this is my job. This is what I'm doing. Because my £25 quickly became £100.
Right.
And then within about 18 months, it was £500. And that's when I gave up the record shop. And then I'm not going to keep telling you where it's at now, but it kept going up and up and up. And that's when I thought, yeah, I think I can make a living out of this, which I kind of have done, really. Yeah.
Obviously, when you first started out, you detailed some of the music you played in it, but obviously when that sort of like house explosion and acid house explosion came in, those artists like the New York and Chicago house came in over here. Did you immediately sort of like cotton on to hang on a second? There's something going on here.
I did. See, because I was working in the record shop, I was able to get access to everything new, and the record company guys would come in and go, oh, and we've got this new thing that you need to have, because before house you had hip hop, all the early electro stuff, Africa Bambaataa, Johnson Crew, and then eventually it was Big Daddy Kane, Roxanne Shante, EPMD, and eventually Run DMC and Public Enemy and LL Cool J. But then in 1986. I remember being on the phone to one of the independent distributors in the record shop, and the last thing we got, I've got all these 12-inch singles from Chicago. Don't know what they're like. I'm like, yeah, just give me one of each. How many? 6. Yeah, give me one of each. And these were on 2 labels, Acid Tracks and DJ International. And I'm like, okay, in the shop, get it out. Oh my God, what the bloody hell is this? It's incredible. The people who worked on my floor were like, this is rubbish, Parky, what is it? What do you mean rubbish? It's amazing. It was basically, early house music was made on cheap drum machines and synthesizers by people who couldn't afford to put a band together, right? It was an expense thing. So you get cheap 808 drum machine or 909 drum machine and cheap Korg synthesizers and hook them all up, and just listen to Jack Your Body by Steve Sook Hurley or Music Is the Key by J.M. Silk. And what they're trying to do, what these young men, and well, it was mainly men, but there's women as well, what they were trying to do is make disco records but with cheap electronic music, and that ended up being Acid House. And I thought, this is fucking amazing, absolutely incredible. Meanwhile, in Detroit, they were doing a similar thing, but they weren't trying to make disco records. They were listening to European electronic bands like Kraftwerk and what's the other one? Anyway, they would listen to European electronic music. So they were making stuff that was like ended up being techno. But those two, like Acid House and Detroit techno, I just thought were amazing because they were raw. And as I said earlier, being someone who embraced punk rock at the age of 24. 10 years later, I'm embracing Acid House and techno for the same reasons, because it was a kind of DIY ethic. And when I played them at the garage in Nottingham, half of the crowd were like, whoa, what's this? The other half were like, come on, Parky, get Talking Heads back on, get New Order back on. But then the odd record from North America, and then eventually there was stuff from New York as well. The odd record from North America ended up being many every week. So as a DJ, what I've always done, and I still do this to this day, if I love something and I think it deserves to be shared and played, I'll play it. Just because something's big, if I don't like it, I can't play it. So I was going, no, I've got to play these records, I've got to play these records. So ultimately, it meant that certain records stopped getting played. So we kind of lost half of the audience, but it didn't matter because we got another new crowd who came in and it just grew from there. And then next minute, it kind of spread around, Acid House spread around the north of the country very, very quickly. And then summer '88 was when, you know, Hacienda, Summer of Love, it just went off. But House took over. It absolutely took over. So apologies for that, but it did. but it was really, really exciting, and that's why I kind of embraced it.
Yeah, because you know, I think certainly in the late '80s as well, there was lots of stuff going on in the country, and people sort of needed a bit of a release as well.
There is a comparison, '88 to today: high interest rates, high inflation, and a pretty right-wing government. You know, and so the background to that was Acid House, Ecstasy, and the Hacienda, which was just happened to be the right venue in the right place at the right time. Mike Pickering and I playing these tunes to a really eclectic and inclusive crowd. Because the thing about Hacienda was, it didn't matter who you were or what your background was. There was none of this like, no, you're not coming in, or like, you know, there was no discrimination, and everything. The stars kind of aligned. You had these like, you know, the music, the club, the people, the ecstasy, all kind of aligned, and it just went right off.
Don't do drugs, kids.
No.
Well, so when did you first start hearing about the Hacienda? Because obviously, people will have heard it. Obviously, it's not around now and hasn't been around for a long time. But when did you first hear about it?
I was because I was a massive music fan and a massive Factory Records fan. I had, and I probably have, I will still have every single Factory Records release on 7-inch and 12-inch with the beautifully designed Peter Saville artwork and the beautiful labels and thick vinyl and everything. And so when you read or heard that the Hacienda that Factory Records were opening a nightclub, it's like, oh, I've got to go there.
Yeah.
And even though I lived in Nottingham and worked in a record shop in Nottingham, I would occasionally, depending on what band was on, get the train up to Manchester via Sheffield, and just to see a band. And even if the band were playing in Nottingham, because New Order, when they played in Nottingham, everyone's like, oh, New Order coming to Nottingham. I'm like, yeah, I want to go and see them in Manchester. I want to go and see it at Hacienda. So I was aware of the club, absolutely thought it was amazing. But it was never a club, it was a live venue. The club nights there never really took off until 1988. So then to end up meeting Mike Pickering at an ID magazine photo shoot in London and kind of hitting it off with him, and then I was aware of him, he was aware of me, and then he asked me to cover his Friday night when he was on holiday. I couldn't believe it. I'm going to DJ at Hacienda. And then to get asked to stay when he came back from holiday, I couldn't believe it. And then I ended up staying there till it closed in 1997.
What was so? I mean, I only went there a couple of times, but what was so special about the Hacienda for you?
Well, it was a club run by hedonists for hedonists. It was very, very organic. It wasn't planned. I mean, if it wasn't for Hacienda, I don't think you'd have had Cream in Liverpool or Gatecrasher in Sheffield, although it did start in Birmingham. You would never have had Renaissance in Mansfield. And even Ministry of Sound, they were all like, oh, we need to do what's happening in Manchester.
Yeah.
The difference is they were all meticulously planned and very well managed. I mean, Ministry of Sound's still there. Cream is probably the biggest club brand in the world because they were like, they all came to Hacienda and went, right, we need to do this. And they did it brilliantly. But Hacienda was just a shambles, an absolute shambles behind the scenes. But that's what was a great thing about it. And the reason it closed, it went bust. Yeah, we had gang/gun/drug/violent issues 91 to 92, we closed for 6 months. We sorted it out. The late great Tony Wilson had the foresight to go on television in the Northwest Granada TV, and to everyone's surprise, without even telling people who worked at Hacienda, I'm closing the Hacienda for 3 months because of all the issues, which was a masterstroke because it just stopped it all in its tracks, and then it reopened and it carried on. But it was just a shambles, and it didn't close because of those issues. It closed because it just ran out of money. And Peter Hook, famously, says that for every person who paid to get into Hacienda, it cost him personally £10. That's what he's worked out.
That's quite a lot of money.
Yeah, but Peter Hook now owns the name. The rest of New Order, when he was in the band, weren't interested in registering the name, but he said, no, I'm going to do it. You never know what's going to happen. The club closed in 97, and then about 2003, 2004, people started doing these unofficial Hacienda nights, but because Hookie owned the brand, he's like, hang on a minute, no, you're not using the name of my club for your night. So then got in touch with me and Mike and some of the other people who were involved, and we put on a proper Hacienda night, and then that just grew and grew and grew. And then, of course, Hacienda Classical came along in 2016. And without Hookie, none of it would be possible because he owns the name, and he is the one who helps fund and make Hacienda Classical happen. And if you'd said to me when I left my band in 1984 that I would end up back in a band, but that band would be a 40-piece orchestra with a choir and singers. And actually, there's some shows I've done some singing with Hacienda Classical. If Hookie can't make the show, who does Blue Monday? I do Blue Monday,
Really?
So I've ended up going back to what I did before as a DJ, was singing in a band, but albeit on a much grander scale. It's quite. And my late grandfather would be really, I think, quite proud looking down, going, there's Graeme doing what I used to do. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's fabulous. Because it's a block of flats now, isn't it, Hacienda?
It is.
But there's your name's on there.
Yeah, there's a timeline at the back. If you ever go to Manchester, head to Whitworth Street West, the junction of Whitworth Street West and City Road, and there's the Hacienda Apartments with the Hacienda logo. This is why Peter Hook was very clever to buy the name, So the Hacienda logo, and people take photographs outside, but it's not the original building. But if you go up Whitworth Street West, there's an alleyway. Go down the alleyway, turn left, go down some steps by the canal, and there's this beautiful wrought iron timeline of everything that happened from the day it opened. Bernard Manning opened it, right?
That's right.
And famously said, "No, I don't want paying. You're going to need all the money you need." And that was quite
True.
prolific. The same. Madonna's first UK appearance is on there.
She was miming as well, wasn't she?
Yeah,
I
she
think?
was. It was on the Tube, which I used to be I always forget this. I used to be a researcher on the Tube, actually. I was the East Midlands researcher. I forgot that. And then you got Graeme Park and Mike Pickering, Nude Night Friday. And then, it's a great timeline. So unless you know... I was having a discussion the other day about culture and society and cities. Manchester's got a great heritage, a great musical heritage, as does Liverpool, but Liverpool really shouts about it. You've got statues of the Beatles outside the Liver building.
Yeah.
You've got other famous musical icons in bronze around the city. Manchester, it's got an equally big musical heritage, but it doesn't shout about it as much. Liverpool, they really sell their musical heritage for tourism purposes very successfully. Manchester, not so much, but I think they should. So unless you know about this timeline, which a lot of people don't, you're not going to see it. But it's definitely worth a visit.
I wonder as well, the change, because obviously DJing changed as well massively from when you started. And during the early part of your career, suddenly the DJ's name, the superstar DJ, wasn't a thing.
I know.
Unless you were like a Radio 1 DJ or something.
No,
Those are the
exactly.
stars.
Yeah.
But people in clubs, they weren't really known.
No,
and then suddenly that just went insane.
I know. It's bizarre. I still think it's bizarre. I do think the term superstar DJ is a bit of an oxymoron, if I'm honest. When I started DJing, I was like, DJs were just in the corner or hidden away somewhere, just playing great music, reading the dance floor, I think if you're going to be a DJ, I think knowing your music and being passionate about the music is way more important than the physical, technical side of it. If you're lucky enough to be able to do both, great, right? And I always was, because I used to listen to Tony Humphries mixtapes, Frankie Knuckles mixtapes, and Marley Marl, hip-hop DJ mixtapes. I had a friend who lived in New York, tape their shows, send them over to me. And it was purely about the music. But then something happened, I think probably Acid House and the kind of club explosion, the dance rave culture explosion. And in the early 90s, this term superstar DJ, and that's when the DJ suddenly became really, really important. Yeah, great. I can't knock it because, fees went up and I started traveling the world at other people's expenses. So there's not many countries I've not been to and been paid, to fly business class or first class, stay in the best hotel. All that's amazing. But to me, the important thing was playing great music. But I was never comfortable with it, and I'm not knocking it, but I just do miss those days of just dark, dingy clubs, and it doesn't matter who's DJing, it's a great night. And of course now, there's a new train of thought that there's up-and-coming DJs who are getting gigs, not because they're great DJs, because they've got massive TikTok following or massive social media presence. Great, that's important. You got to roll with the punches. You got to embrace technology and get your message across. Now, in the old days, I used to pay someone to do my press because I found some old invoices. And I was paying like £600 a month for someone to try and get me written about in NME, DJ Magazine, Mix Mag, or even like local newspapers if I had a gig coming up, right? And it was on the phone. Or you'd go and meet, if you go into a gig, you'd meet with someone from the local paper in the afternoon, then have an argument with the photographer who said, "Can you put your headphones around your neck?" I'm like, "No, why?" "Oh, you're a DJ, are you?" "Yes, but that's just so boring." Do you know what I mean? Or when I was doing when I was on like commercial radio, be like, they turn up and they want you to have your headphones around your neck and the microphone hanging down, all that stuff. But that's just what you did. But of course now you don't need someone to do your press. Sometimes you do, but Hacienda has a press person who gets good stuff. But you can self-promote. You can get the message across yourself. So that's very important, because you're more in control of it that way. So you can't have journalists quoting you out of context or implying that you're saying something you didn't really mean and all that stuff. I've had all that in the past, but then you learn from it. I'm a bit more careful about what I say these days. But going back to the point, I just think it shouldn't be about the DJ. It should be about the music, and you should read the dance floor. I know DJs, the kind of current up-and-coming generation of DJs who are very good technically and have massive followings. But if they turn up and the equipment's not right, or if they turn up and the crowd's not into what they do, they struggle. Whereas I've done gigs where I turn up, the equipment's shit. That's not what I asked for. That's not even close. I'm not going to throw a strop and storm off. Go, okay, let's sort it out. We'll make it work. We'll make it out. And you do it. Just make it work. And if the crowd aren't into what you do, I've seen DJs like throw their headphones down and a strop and march off. No. Think, right, how am I going to make this work? And it's what I do, and I love it. Worst gig I did in my life was in Newport, South Wales. Lovely town, lovely people. Worst gig ever. I was just the wrong DJ in the wrong club, basically.
How long ago was this?
This was 1992 or something.
Right.
But I thought, no. And the thing is, back in the day, when you turn up to a gig, you had 2 boxes of vinyl. That's all you had. Before each gig, you have to go through your box. Yeah, I'll definitely want these. Now, these new ones need to go in. They're all amazing, but there's no room in the box. Well, I'm going to have to take stuff out. So then you start going through your box and go, well, I know this is a massive tune and has been, but it's been massive for 6 weeks. So that's out to make room for this new one. So whatever you turned up to a club with, that's what you had to work with, right? So if the crowd were into what you're doing, or you were really struggling to get them going, that's all you had. So knowing your music helped, and being able to play the alternative versions that you never would normally play, but they're on the 12-inch B-side and stuff. And it's a real kind of how I learn my craft. It was going to Australia for a month, and then Singapore and Hong Kong on the way back. So you're on the road for 6 weeks, right up until the taxi outside your door to take you to Heathrow Airport. You're still going, oh, man, what records am I going to take? What records am I going to take? And as soon as you clip them shut and put the padlock on, that's it.
Yeah.
You can buy you could buy records in Australia, but they were always about a month behind Europe. And then if you did buy them, where are they going to go? Your boxes are full. So, but whereas nowadays, as you'll see later, I've got like about 15,000 tracks on a USB. So I'm covered for every angle,
Right.
which is good. But I don't. But it means that, God knows what you lot will be into tonight. Who knows? We'll find out shortly, won't we? I'll be doing my thing, and I do guarantee you'll enjoy what I do. Hopefully, no, I'm sure you will. And I'll just gauge the room and read the crowd. But there are DJs who say, "This is what I'm going to do. I've worked my set out." Well, what happens if the DJ before you is going to play 5 tunes that you're going to play? And I've seen them go, "Well, they're in my set. I've got to play them anyway." But the crowd will go, "Hang on a minute, didn't we hear this half an hour ago?" I just think I look at it from 38 years I've been doing what I do, and I think I'm still doing it. 1, because I love it, and I'm so passionate about it. 2, I must be pretty good at it because people keep asking me to do it, right?
Yeah.
3, well, what else am I going to do? So yeah, superstar DJ. I have been classed as that and introduced as that, but it's bollocks, really. I think I do.
I'm interested in the.
That's a very long answer.
Yeah, no, it's a good answer, and that's what we want long answers. With the equipment, do you miss carting around vinyl? Because
No.
there was more of an art to vinyl.
Yeah, there's a great art to vinyl, and I don't miss it because almost 4 years ago I had to have a knee replacement surgery because my knee's knackered. I put that down to carrying these bloody boxes everywhere.
Wow.
And this one has to get replaced soon. I don't miss them. I use vinyl at home. People will ring me up and go, "Parky, I've got this really good idea for a night. It's vinyl only, and obviously I want you to do it." I'm like, I don't want to do it. What? Don't want to do it? Why? Because I just don't want to then have to go, "Oh my God, I've got to go and look out vinyl that I want to play and then carry it." No. I've got everything we need. It's about the music. It's not about whether you use a controller, whether you use Serato, Tractor, use the Pioneer CDJs, vinyl, CDs. It doesn't matter. What matters is what comes out of the speakers. That is the most important thing. I do use Serato with vinyl discs with Hacienda Classical because there's cameras on what I'm doing and it's more theatrical, isn't it? So
Yeah.
people can see me scratching and spinning things in and my hands doing like old school analog vinyl mixing techniques, even though it's a digital setup. But in a club, I did use Serato in a club, but then it's like, right, mate, I've got one more record. It's 4 minutes long. Is that long enough for you to set Serato up? Oh, it'll have to be. Pain in the backside. But the new Pioneer CDJ 3000 players are incredible. So why would you want to be a Luddite and go, no? And there are DJs of my generation go, no, vinyl. It's got to be vinyl. Why? It's like, it doesn't sound as good in a club, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got the rumble and sound systems have been developed over the past decade for digital music files. So why would you turn your back on decks that can loop and change key and transpose and just do so much amazing stuff with? I don't get it. But then I've always embraced technology and I've always managed to look forward. So when, I was joking with someone yesterday actually about MySpace. I was a very early adopter of MySpace. Went online, my MySpace page is still there. I can't remember the password though.
It may come back again. You never know the way Twitter's going, Graeme.
I was a very early adopter of Facebook and Instagram, everything. And a lot of my peers over the past 15 years, like, "Parky, how come you got so many followers on Twitter?" I'm like, because I work it and I think I did by doing this, that, and the other. They just don't get it. I mean, people get it now. It's just, I've never, ever in my life gone, what? DJ with a laptop? No. I go, oh, DJ with a laptop? Tell me more. You know, that's just my way of looking at things, you know.
You've talked about your worst gig.
Hang on. On some of the worst gig, my
Yeah.
second worst gig
Okay.
ever was in Newport, South Wales.
Both in Newport.
I foolishly went back thinking, it wouldn't.
It was just
there's
a duff
no
the first
way that going back would be as bad as the first time, and it was.
Was it around the same time, or was it a little
No,
bit
it was a
later?
few years later. Yeah, I have had one. My third gig in Newport was pretty good.
You've gone back again?
Yes, you know, because if someone comes to me with a proposition, I never dismiss it till I've thought it through and discussed it. So even though I go, what? Do what? No. Like the vinyl, like, no, I'm not doing it. I ended up doing it with Serato and vinyl.
Right.
So it was the best of both. I had all my music. And the thing with Serato, it's like an analog method,
Yeah.
with digital files. You can still do your loops and stuff, you know. So that's, if anyone comes to me with an idea, I did a gig in Leeds last Saturday at the Warehouse. The promoter, I've never worked for him before, got in touch, said, I want to book you for the Warehouse Leeds. I went, brilliant, when? And he goes, well, first of all, let me tell you the concept. And I went, oh, here we go. When people have a concept, straight away I'm like, oh, what the hell? Why not just book Graeme Park to play some great music? Because to me, that every gig should just be, here's Graeme, here's David Morales, here's, you know, I don't know, whoever. Let's enjoy the music, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the concept? What's called 1992 Revisited? I'm like, why? He's like, well, because it was a great year for music. And I put these occasional lights on when we pick a year. No, I don't want to do it. What do you mean you don't want to do it? You were massive back then. I'm like, well, thanks, but I'd like to think I'm still doing all right now. He goes, no, but I mean, what a great year. I went, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Oh, please, please, please. Oh, well, let me I made the foolish mistake of saying, oh, let me have a think about it. And then I thought, why did I say that? I'll be back in touch. Anyway, he was back in touch, but I did think about it. And then I listened to some of my old mix tapes from the Hacienda in 1992.
Wow.
And then it struck me, 1992 was an amazing year for music. But on these mixtapes, on my DJ sets from 1992, I was playing music from before 1992. So I'll do it. But I'll tell them, if you want an authentic 1992 experience, I'll play music from 1992, but music from before 1992. And I also said, and do not expect me, because it's 1992, I'm not playing the obvious stuff, right? Like Degrees of Motion. I'm not playing it. And other tracks. Because that's why we did Hacienda Classical, because I was sick of playing these obvious records. So I listened to these mixtapes, and then went and had to really hunt, because a lot of the tunes from that year aren't available digitally. So I had to go and find them, and then digitize them. And oh my God, I loved it. And I played the stuff that people have forgotten about. And when I do DJ sets with an older crowd who want to hear, oh, play all the classics, Parky, I go, well, there's plenty of DJs who'll play Alison Limerick and Robin S. and all that stuff. Great, CNC Music Factory. And they're happy doing it. And you can hear them do that. I love digging deep and finding the ones that people haven't heard for 20 years or 30 years. So I had a great time. I loved it. And the feedback was incredible. And I did end up playing mostly stuff from 1992, but not the obvious ones. So it felt like a contemporary set. I just think it's the way you, whether, I mean, I'm talking about DJing, but whatever it is you want to do, you can either just do what everyone else expects you to do and do the obvious stuff and get paid and be happy, or keep it fresh and try making it not difficult for yourself, because if you're passionate about what you do, it shouldn't be difficult, but you're kind of making it a bit harder. But then the rewards, I think, well, obviously I got paid a lot, but the personal rewards are, I did it. So he said to me on the way out, I want to do another one. What year do you want to do? And I'm thinking, I'd love to do early 80s. Oh, yeah, but I'm not going to sell many tickets for that. Oh, okay. Well, let's talk. And then got in the car and drove home. Listening to jazz. I did. I listen to jazz, and then when I get tired in the car on the way home, my rule is less than 2 hours from home, drive there, drive home. And if it's like 4 or 5 in the morning instead of 2 in the morning, I listen to drum and bass because oh my god, a bag of Haribo Tangfast sticks and drum and bass really loud is like, whoa, I'm going to be home in like no time at all.
How times have changed.
Yeah, exactly how times have changed. Not good for your teeth, though.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. We're going to open up.
Drum and bass is not good for your teeth. No, sorry.
No, that's true. Well, maybe not. We're going to open up some questions in a second. I remember interviewing Norman Jay, MBE.
No, he's the loveliest man ever. I was in London 2 Saturdays ago. I was in bed by midnight. It was a massive hacienda party. It was a daytime party. I was in bed by midnight. I refused to get involved with all the afters that everyone was doing it because I was booked on the 8 o'clock train home from Euston. Get on the train, and there's Norman Jay trying to find his seat. Same carriage as me, and we had a lovely, beautiful chat all the way to. He got off at Stafford, and he's just a lovely, amazing man. He really is.
And another amazing
and a great
DJ,
yeah.
Yeah, and I asked him, and I'm going to ask you the same question. Is there one track that you would always go to if you have to get people dancing? And I think with you, maybe you read the room a bit more. He went for Aretha Franklin, Respect. He said that's the go-to track for him. Is there one for you though?
Well, it depends on the night and the vibe and the crowd really, because a younger crowd wouldn't necessarily go for the same big tune that an older crowd would.
Yeah.
In a mixed crowd, you'd have to try and split the difference. But there's one track that I hate playing, but it always works, and it's something that I was quite heavily involved in. But it's like, I know you're supposed to love your own kids, and I do. I've got kids. I love my own kids. But there's a remix I did. There's a remix I did in 1994 by the brand new Heavies called "Back to Love," and honestly, I'm like, oh God, Parky, you're gonna play a brand new Heavies? I've only been on the decks for 5 minutes, maybe. That usually works. That's I usually get out of jail card, but I try not to play it because I've done so many better remixes. Well, that's the good thing about Leeds last Saturday. If anyone did ask for Back to Love, my remix Back to Love, I said, sorry, love. 1992. They hadn't even written it then. But yeah, Back to Love, my remix Back to Love, Brand New Heavies works. But you know, I mean, do you want it right now by Degrees of Motion usually?
Yeah.
That always works. That piano.
Yeah.
But there are some tunes that I know are going to work. For example, Gat Decor's Passion. Oh. Exactly, I can't stand it. It's a great record.
The original version I like. I didn't like the more commercialised version of it.
It's great, but it's like that's just easy. Like I said earlier, you can choose to take the easy option, and I'm not going to mention names, but some of my peers, when they do these like big kind of classic events, they're happy to play Robin S., Alison Limerick, Degrees of Motion, the Bucketheads, the Bomb, and all that. Great, fantastic.
Yeah.
If that's your gig, if that's your thing, and if you're happy doing it, get on with it. But I go, well, I don't have to play those records because some other DJs will play them. But honestly, when you play a record that no one's heard for 20 years because it's not available digitally, and essentially people are lazy. A lot of my peers are quite lazy. They go, oh, remember this record? Yeah, is it online? Oh, it's not online, never mind. Whereas I'll go, it's not online. Right, I've got to find it. And it might take me months to find it because my records are not organised. They're in a lockup. And if I'm lucky enough to find it or find other stuff I'd forgotten about, I'll digitise it and play it, which really, you lot get this, because I bet you do it. You're in a club. Oh, what's this? Shazam. It's not working. Have I got a signal? Yeah, I've got a really good signal. Hang on. Try again. Oh, this is awkward. It's no, come on, Shazam. Come up to the DJ.
Well, that's a challenge for you now, though, isn't it?
But they come up and go, Parky, Shazam's not working. What's that last tune you played?
Yeah.
Oh, that last tune I played? Give me your phone. Open up your note. I'll type it in for you. Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. And I know they'll be back. I know they'll be back 10 minutes later. come back 10 minutes later. I can't find this anywhere online. Well, you won't, because it was never released, or there was only 500 copies. And some cheeky gets then go, well, if I give you my email address, you send it to me. Right, out my DJ box. Go and find your own obscure record. Or what I say is, well, go, if you really want it, go to Discogs, you might find it. It might cost you 50 quid, but then you've got it, then you can digitize it.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I'm just like, when I go to my lockup, it's a bit like a kid in a sweet shop, because there's records and boxes of records in there I've not opened. Because I've moved house so many times in the past 20 years. So I'll go, wonder what's in this box, blow the dust off it, rip the brown tape off, open it up. I don't even recognize them. Or I'll put it in my car, take it home. Oh my God, these are rubbish. Did I really play this? And then suddenly, oh my God, I've not heard this for 30 years. If I've not heard it for 30 years, then no one else will. And then when you play it, because a lot of producers now will listen to music that was big in the late 80s and early 90s and try and recreate that sound.
Yeah.
So if I find an authentic track from that period, people under 30 might think it's new, and that's when the Shazam thing happens. So, yeah, I still get very excited about it.
Is there a track that you would never play? And I'm going to talk to Sophia, your agent, has constantly tried to get you to play Phil Collins, which...
Yeah, right. So,
God knows why.
going back to what I said earlier, my friends at school were into Genesis, right? Couldn't stand them. I've never been a fan of Phil Collins. He absolutely ruined the Supremes' Can't Hurry Love, I personally believe, right?
Yeah.
However, and I'm not got it with me, so I'm not going to play it tonight. However, Phil Collins' Susudio with, what's his face, the Christian guy, the singer guy, since it Phil Bailey.
Phil Bailey, yeah.
What a tune. And I used to play that at the garage in Nottingham. It's a funk record.
Yeah.
And you know, say what you like about Phil Collins, he is an amazing drummer, right? You cannot deny that.
Yeah.
He is a great singer. I just don't like what he does. I'm not a fan. But Susudio, and you'll find that online, is a great, great record. It's really good. And I haven't got it with me because I forgot. I was.
Phil Collins fan, by the way.
Oh, good. Any, right. Let's quick show of hands. Any Phil Collins fans in the room? Well,
Three.
Three. Well, I've not got so. But the thing is, I could, if I wanted to, because I have done this in the past, get a Wi-Fi signal, download it, and then play it. But I'm not going to.
Okay, let's open up some questions from you guys for Graeme. Who wants to? Oh, right. Okay, we'll come back to you, Sophia. I'll just go up to the end there. Oh, you're right. You're going to do that. Well done, David.
Oh,
Thank
brilliant.
you very much. Just grab my water.
Is it working? Hi, Graeme. Thank you.
Tell us what your name is.
Henry.
Henry. Hi, Henry.
Hi. Nice to meet you. So, at your time at Hacienda, obviously you've met some colourful, interesting people.
Oh, God,
my question was, did you ever get to meet Morrissey, and what was he like? Was he a...
Funnily, that's a good question. I've never met Morrissey. I mean, I know Johnny Marr, and pretty much 89, 90, 91, you name any like of the big Manchester acts, the Gallagher Brothers, the Happy Mondays, in Spiral Carpets. Mick Hucknall tried to punch me actually in the face once because I'm like, oh, Mick, and he all he saw was the camera, not me, and I've got a great photograph of him of his swinging a punch. He missed me though, and they went, "Oh, sorry, mate, 'cause that's how he talks." Mick Hucknall. Great voice, singing voice. So no, I've never met Morrissey. I'm not sure I'd like to now. He's kind of gone a bit weird, isn't he?
Gone a bit strange.
I was never really a Smiths. When I worked in the record shop in the Select Disc in Nottingham, I remember the first Smiths tracks, singles coming in Rough Trade. And everyone in the shop was like, "Oh, these are amazing." And I'm like, "Nah, don't really get it." And then I heard the 12-inch B-side, How Soon Is Now. Mm-hmm. And then I go, "Oh, I get it." But that's Johnny Marr that I got.
Yeah.
And then I went back and then got into what difference does it make. So, no, so sorry to disappoint you. I've got no Morrissey tales, sorry.
No Morrissey anecdotes today, unfortunately. Okay, another one over there.
Hi,
What's your name?
Lucy.
All right, Lucy.
You spoke earlier about how the music industry has changed over the years.
Yeah.
About a year ago, I did an assignment on how the industry had been affected by COVID.
Yes.
And I just wanted to know your views on it.
Right, well, live performance seriously affected by COVID. I mean, I didn't do any gigs with an audience for 18 months. I did a lot of online live streaming, which kind of passed the time, but it's not the same not smelling the crowd. Crowds have a smell about them. You need to see the whites of people's eyes and feel the crowd. So doing live streams are great if you want to kill some time and entertain people remotely. There's no money in it. People released some great music. So I think from a streaming and download aspect, that was quite good. I actually came up, I went to Peter Hook and said, Hookie, and this is in lockdown, there's not a Hacienda record label. He goes, no, can't be arsed, too much bother printing the vinyl, No, what are you talking about, Hookie? He's a bit older than me, Hookie. We don't have to make vinyl. We can launch the label and it's all digital. And to my surprise, I went, yeah, go on then, do it. So we launched Hacienda Records in lockdown. We're only putting out stuff that I like, by the way. So, I mean, if you look on all your digital platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Traxsource, Beatport, just type in Hacienda Records. There's a couple of great tunes out now. There's one coming out next week. But the live industry, the entertainment, nighttime economy was the first to close and the last to open. And I had no income for 18 months. I couldn't furlough myself and I couldn't get self-employed income support. And I wasn't the only one. There's loads of people really, really suffered. And now that things are back to normal, in inverted commas, the cost of living, the price of energy really had an effect. So loads of venues have closed, loads of clubs, venues, theatres, bars, because everyone, you want to go for a drink before you go to your club and everything. There have been, I mean, the Warehouse Project's doing all right. I'll be there this Saturday, which is an amazing venue, 10,000 people coming to see a bunch of old bastards like me playing house music. But yeah, it's a good question because it really did suffer. And the current government's not really doing much. Before the pandemic, the nighttime economy, so that's clubs, theatres, cinemas, anything that's open after 6 p.m, it was something like £66 billion. That's a lot of income tax, a lot of corporation tax, and a lot of VAT going into the exchequer. But for some reason, this government aren't really rushing to keep that part of the economy vibrant. So it's a real struggle. Yeah.
Good question.
The watch gig? Yeah, so in United We Stream, the mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, set up United We Stream so that people like me could still perform. No money in it. It was to raise money for charity and to help people who couldn't go out. And we did a few Hacienda house parties where the orchestra performed. I went into a theatre in Bury, an empty theatre with a kick-in sound system with remote cameras and remote lights. I'm on my own in a room this size, empty, banging out tunes. Yeah, it was great to get out of the house. I had a letter from the mayor's office in Greater Manchester Mayor saying that I was doing essential work, so I was allowed to drive on the empty M62.
Wow.
I won't tell you how fast I was going. No cars. And then I did a 12-hour set. Yeah, they said, well, we want you to do a 12-hour set. I went, a 12-hour set? I'm in. And it was really, really good fun because I didn't know what I was going to do. Because even though I was doing a 12-hour set, for my entire DJ career, I've basically made it up as I go along. I might have an idea in my head what I'd like to play, what I want to play, but so often the crowd will mean I can't, or the crowd will maybe go a different way. But I've got no audience, so what am I going to play? I have no idea. So I took my Serato, which is like about 60,000 tracks in it. I thought, well, I'm starting at midday. I may as well start, laid back tempo. But we had a technical issue. I couldn't get one of the decks to work. I had one deck working, the other one wouldn't read Serato. I was like, my God. Then Colin, the guy who's directing it, goes, Graeme, we've got 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Shit. Right, okay, 5 minutes. So anyway, and Vince is like, right, 1 minute. What? Oh my God, I've got to get this working. And then he's like, 30 seconds. Oh my God, I better pick a record. What am I going to play? What am I going to play? So I went to Serato and arranged everything by BPM. So the slowest BPMs were about 40, too slow. I went, here's like 97 BPM. Oh, Human League, Being Boiled. I'll just drag that into the first deck. And he starts doing 5. You know what and then I went, press play. And to my absolute delight, and everyone else's delight, listen to Being Boiled by the Human League. It starts off with like, okay, let's do it. I'm like, oh my God. And then I played it. I thought, right, I've got as long as this record to get this other deck working. Looked up at the screen. It's only 2 minutes, 37 seconds long. No. But I did get the other deck to read Serato with about 40 seconds left. Oh my God, what am I going to play next? Because everything was still arranged in order in BPM. That's not. Oh, What by Captain Sensible, 12-inch mix, right?
Wow.
I'll just drag that in. And it mixed out beautifully. And that just set me off on my journey. Human League, Captain Sensible, laid back vibes. It was 9 o'clock at night, 9 hours later, that I played my first house record. Meanwhile, I didn't, with a live audience, you can immediately see if what you're doing is working or not. And if it's not, you can do something about it. I took the decision, although I had my iPad and my phone, and I was given the opportunity of having a separate laptop provided so I could, read the online chat and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, no, because one negative comment will be like an arrow through your heart. Honestly, I've done gigs in Ibiza, and Italians in Ibiza are famous for this. The whole club is going mental. You're talking like 3,000 people in space or Amnesia going mental, and then your eye will catch in the middle some Italian bloke like this. Always Italian, and if you catch their eye for more than 2 seconds, it's like an arrow in the heart, and you're like, oh fucking hell, and you cannot get them out of your mind. So then you're like, I'm not going to look at them again. I'm not looking at them. But they're in your head,
yeah,
right? And it takes, sometimes it can be a while till someone goes like, Park, this is amazing. And you go, yeah, it is amazing. Of course it's amazing. He can piss off, and then you get back in the zone. And I took the view, if I start looking at the comments. So I didn't. So I had no idea how it was going. And then I was going, started off with Human League, Captain Sensible. Then it was all hip hop and soul and funk and disco. And then it was 9 o'clock at night. I thought, bloody hell, this is the first house record I've played. And then the last 3 hours was like, hands in the air, big house tunes. And being a professional, I made sure that my last tune, I back-timed it. This is my radio training. I back-timed the last record, so it ended as the second hand counted down to midnight, and again we did New Year's Eve. We did New Year's Eve on United We Stream, and I had the midnight slot, and I back-timed my Big Ben chimes and the record I was playing so that everything happened bang on. And Colin, the director, was like, unbelievable! I can't believe you've done that. There was a 15-second delay with the broadcast. So I back-timed it with a 15-second.
Oh, wow.
So everyone at home, so in the studio, New Year's Eve was 15 seconds early.
But at home it was bang on.
But the reason I did that was, and Colin, the director, was like, I can't believe what you've just done. That's amazing. I'm like, radio training, mate. Radio training.
Radio training is the way to go.
But yeah, so United We Stream was really good fun. And like a lot of DJs, the plan was when we all got back to normal, we were going to continue to do live streaming alongside live performance, but that's just not happened because, it just hasn't happened.
Got a question there?
Yeah, sorry.
Hi,
What's your name?
Graham. My name is Jacob.
All right, Jacob.
And what advice would you give to someone who wants to start DJing, or a DJ that has been doing it for a few years but hasn't performed in front of a live crowd yet? Because I've DJed as a hobby, and I've done a DJ set. I did one for a charity, and it was online because it was during lockdown. but I haven't performed in front of a live crowd yet. So what advice could you give?
Right. First of all, you've got to do it because you love it, right? I get friends of mine with with teenage sons and daughters who are like, will you give my son or daughter some DJ lessons and give them some advice? They want to be a big DJ. I'm like, whoa, hang on. They should want to be a DJ. So if you're passionate about it and you love it, that's the first thing, because anything else is a bonus. So if you never make it, you never, end up playing in big venues, it doesn't matter because you're doing it because you love it, right? If you're a student here,
Yeah.
well, there's a student union. I'm DJing in the student union bar later. Why don't you try and get a gig in there, right?
Actually, I've spoken. Actually, I've spoken to the vice president of the student union, and one of the people who works at the bar. I've actually sent a set over, but currently he's on mental health leave, so hasn't seen it yet. But I'm trying to figure out what I might want to actually play.
You got to read the crowd, I think. I mean, you've got to know what you want to play because you've got to play stuff you love, I think, right?
Yeah, I do, but I'm just worried that what I'm going to play won't get the crowd going.
Well, then you don't know till you try. So what? Have you got any friends you could do get them round your flat or get around someone else's house, set some decks up and just do a thing. Say, well, let's get all my mates round, let's have a little session. And then your mates will be brutally honest. They'll either go, oh, come on, Jacob, this is rubbish. Or they'll go, Jacob, good vibes, man, I love it.
To be fair, when I did that set for, it was a charity called Stop It UK, it was for their 25th anniversary in 2020, I got from relatives and friends, they really liked it.
Yeah, well, if you believe in what you do, and you're passionate about what you do, that should rub off on the people in front of you. That's why I managed, I've played at Hacienda because I was a resident. When you're a resident DJ, you've got the same crowd every week. They know you, you know them. I got away with playing classical music. I got away with playing ska. I got away with playing all kinds of weird stuff that people didn't expect because I knew I could do it. Being a guest DJ is different. I think what you should do, if you can't get a gig in the Students' Union, and I don't mean peak time Saturday night, 10 till midnight, Jacob's on, and everyone's like, what the hell's this? I mean, like on a Friday evening when the week's finished and everyone's gone to the Student Union bar for a drink with their mates before they go home or before they go out, and you're in the corner doing your thing, people might go, oh, who's this DJ and what's this? What kind of stuff do you like?
Well, I'm quite into trance music. And
Music, yeah.
Yeah, I love that sort of thing. The Ferry Corsons, the Langes, the Paul Van Dykes, the Matt Dareys, the Chicanes.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking as well, I might incorporate a bit of house in there, but probably play it slightly faster. Because I listened to Cream Anthem's 1998 compilation album, and it's got Tall Paul, Seb Fontaine in the mix, and they put a few house tracks in there, but they're playing it slightly faster, I think probably about 130. Mm-hmm. So at least they can play trance at the correct tempo.
It sounds like you know your stuff. Do you have a Mixcloud profile?
I do, but I haven't uploaded anything in about a year. I mean, I probably want to start doing that again.
Have you got a decent social media presence?
I haven't got a specific account for my DJ. But
what I would do if I were you, get some mixes on Mixcloud, right? And just try and share them with people. And if people like it, they'll tell you and give you the confidence to maybe have a little go in the Students' Union bar or around a mate's house. That's what I'd do. Don't overthink it either.
Yeah.
Have you
stood there when you're like where Graeme would stand and there's an audience?
Are you hanging around later?
I'm coming for your set.
All right. Well, come and stand.
Yeah.
Stand. Not for the whole set. I'm just saying.
I've not. I haven't performed in front of a live audience yet. That's what I haven't done
Come
yet.
and see what it's like. I mean, that's assuming we have a live audience, you know.
Yeah,
DJ
fine.
training from
Everyone
Graeme
might be
Park.
going like, "Who's this old bald git in the corner?"
Fantastic.
And they'll be thinking, who the hell's this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably to me though, not to you though.
Just don't ask if you can put my headphones on.
No, I wasn't going to.
That's something that a lot of middle-aged women do. Like, Park, you can put your headphones on. Can I pretend I'm DJing? I'm like,
Ear hygiene. It's all about ear hygiene. We've got a question just up the back there.
But good luck, Jacob. Just you don't know till you try, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. My mic's gone off. It's all right. I can talk lightly. I'm a senior lecturer in creative media technology. This is my natural environment. Sorry, carry on.
Hi, I've got 2 questions.
What's your name?
My name's Abby.
You know I'm going to forget everyone's name later on, but, you know,
It's
be
fine.
polite.
So my first question is, what was your most interesting encounter when you've encountered another artist, for example?
My most interesting encounter.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever heard of Eric B and Rakim? They had their hands around my neck and had me up in the corner of their dressing room in Rock City in Nottingham. That was quite an interesting encounter. It was crossed wires. Hey Graham, Eric B and Rakim want to meet you. I'm like, what? Yay! Walk in the dressing room. You played our record and we're playing. No, I didn't play your record. Yeah, you played our record. No, I didn't. Next minute, fat gold chains. Anyway, that was an interesting one. Well, I don't want to name drop.
But you
Oh,
will.
go on. But, you know, I mean, like DJing at, I think he's a friend of mine, Noel Gallagher's 50th birthday party in 2019. Eh? No, I haven't got it with me. That was just everyone. I'm like, oh my God, it's this person. But you can't say, oh my God, it's Matt Smith. Oh my God, it's. I'll tell you what. Are you familiar with the model Helena Christensen? So we're at this party's in this mansion. And I know the guy who owns the mansion, so I was in there early looking at it. There's a massive stuffed polar bear in one of the corridors. And I'm like, oh, that's really impressive. And then this voice next to me goes like, that is a really impressive polar bear. And I'm like, yes, it is. Helena Christensen. How are you? Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Yeah. Because when you're in a room full of, when you're in a mansion full of celebrities, nobody's like, oh my God, it's Helena Christensen. It's just like, all right, yeah. So you just have to go with the flow. So that was quite nice. But yeah, she's lovely.
Yeah, a little bit jealous now. Yeah.
There's Madonna stories. There's like Gangstar stories. But, you know, they're all stories. Mic drop. Sorry.
And then there's,
Well, I can't share most of them, to be honest.
Have you got another one as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, second question, Abby.
My second question is, what was the best moment that you remember that you've had in the music industry?
Oh, I'm glad you said music industry. Best moment? Wow. Well, that goes without saying, Sophia. There's a few. One of my greatest, a really special moment for me was when I'm from Aberdeen, and there used to be a club there called Fever. So 89. This is make you laugh. Nowadays, it's emails, direct messages on social media. Back in the day, it would be like, turn up to the Hacienda, there's some letters arrive for you. Oh, okay, thanks. A letter from a club in Aberdeen. Dear Graham, we run a club in Aberdeen called Fever, and we'd like to book you because we think, you know, from what we, blah, 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 blah. Phone number, oh, hi, is that Mike? Yeah, Graeme Park. Oh, Graeme, yeah, I don't know. So we did the deal, booked me, and I couldn't believe I was playing in the city I was born. But of course, nobody in Aberdeen knew I was from Aberdeen. They thought I was from Manchester. So I get off the plane and meet Mike, who's now one of my best friends. He owns and runs a sub club in Glasgow. And we're chatting on the way to his car, and he goes, you don't sound like you're from Manchester. I said, well, I'm not. I'm from Aberdeen. He goes, you're kidding me. I'm from Aberdeen. Oh, my God. People are going to freak out. This is like the height of ecstasy days, right? People are going to freak out. I said, well, what are they going to do when I take my jacket off? I had my Aberdeen Football Club shirt on. Big Aberdeen fan. They're going to go mental. And that was a big moment for me because I got the introduction. And he's one of us. He's all the way. He's from Aberdeen. And I stood up at the beer crate in the DJ box, stood on it, took my shirt off, took my jacket off, not my shirt off. I've never taken my shirt off in a club. And the place went mental. And that really sticks with me. That's a special moment. Playing a club in Uruguay called Space in Punta del Este. That was one of the greatest gigs ever. And that's where all the models go for summer. so that was, you know, men and women models. That was just amazing. Meeting Maradona in a toilet in a club in Buenos Aires. That was an interesting encounter. Yeah, those three spring to mind.
Brilliant.
Sorry, keep it academic. Keep it academic.
No, you're fine, absolutely fine.
He's not very tall, Maradona. Well, sorry, he wasn't very tall. It's very funny, though.
Dave.
Thank you. Hi, Graeme. You talked earlier about kind of how you have embraced technology, and I think that's really cool, because I know some people who are those Luddites, and respect whatever you want to do. But I was just interested to know, like, how you feel about that on the dance floor, and how the presence of technology in venues and clubs and
You mean the
dance
smartphones?
Smartphones, yeah.
It definitely does have an impact, I think, because if you look at old footage of Paradise Garage, the Hacienda, early Cream footage, everyone's just dancing, everyone's facing each other, everyone's like just getting on with it. The Park twins are 18 in 3 weeks' time, and one of them is getting DJ lessons off me. He's pretty good, actually. His taste is fantastic. That's the first thing. Park and Son coming to a club near you next year. And I've asked my sons about this. Come on, boys, what is it with all this bloody smartphone stuff? He goes, well, Dad, if you had smartphones in the 1980s, of course you would have used them. Of course you would have photographed each other. Of course you would have wanted a video memento. And I can't really argue about it. There are clubs. Fabric has a Fabric in London has no smartphone on the dance floor policy. Fine, but you can't tell people what to do, can you? And I can guarantee now, the Warehouse Project on Saturday, when we do Hacienda Nights Warehouse Project, most of the crowd, I'd say 70% of the crowd, weren't even born when the Hacienda closed, right? And that's great, as someone who's been DJing all my life, to be able to play to people who never got to witness it first time around. That's really exciting for me. And they don't have that Hacienda baggage about them. They just want to hear great music from DJs that they think have got this kind of legacy thing. I can guarantee when I'm playing certain tunes and there's a big drop or whatever, I'm in the concourse, so I'm right in front of the crowd as close as we are. I'm not raised up or right in front of them. And people do that annoying bloody fist bump thing. Yeah, whatever. I'm trying to DJ. Come away, dance. That's fine. But I can guarantee I'll have a sea of screens, not just at me, but at each other. And yeah, it's easy. A lot of my peers will knock it, really say it's terrible, and put vitriolic like nonsense about it on social media. But it is what it is. And like my son said, come on, Dad. I mean, they've got a point. I remember buying those disposable cameras and taking them to clubs. That's when Mick Hucknall tried to punch me because it was a disposable camera. I used to take a really expensive SLR to gigs, I need to find those pictures. I bet there's a gold mine there. So yeah, I find it disappointing, but only if I look at it through my middle-aged eyes. But if you look at it through the eyes of a parent who's got teenage sons, yeah, I totally get it. And you probably all do it. I mean, it's not a club's position or an artist or DJ's position to say you cannot do this on the dance floor. I wish they didn't. I do. I wish people were just like, right, phone in pocket, put it on silent, do not disturb, and talk to people and dance and smile and everything. But it's 2022, not 1992. As I constantly have to remind certain DJs who are the same age as me. It's 2022, not 1992. Or in some cases, not 1952, sorry.
One more,
Hi,
Sophia.
Hi, Graeme.
Sophia!
So, because you've been going such a long time and you reinvent yourself, would you say
Such a
would you say the likes of like you and Mike Pickering and Noel Gallagher had far better ideas and creativity in your 20s when you were all drugged up and drunk, or now in your 50s and 60s?
Good question. And the answer is no. Yeah, I mean, getting drink and, whatever substances to help the creative process are fine, but ultimately they kind of ruin everything, I think. I don't really drink anymore. Although having said that, I hope they do a nice pint in the Students' Union bar.
I don't drink either, so I don't know.
No, but I really, really crave a pint. But anyway, I think, I mean, since I stopped drinking, more or less, I did stop for 4 years. I stopped drinking because George Michael died. We're exactly the same age. And the fact that someone who is exactly the same age as me, in the same industry, although admittedly a lot more famous, successful, and well off, and who obviously didn't look after himself, it freaked me out. I thought that could be me at 50, when was it, 2016, at 54, right? 53, 54. So I thought, that's it, I'm not drinking. In lockdown, because I wasn't going to clubs, I was at home, it was my wife who said, have a bloody drink. You're not going to get hammered and disappear for 3 days. Oh, you have a drink. So I'm back on sensible, controlled drinking. It's a rocky road. I've got people who've lost everything through alcohol and drugs. A really good friend of mine had his bladder removed last week through drug. There's a line you can go up to, and you get to that line, you can either go, right, that's the line, I'm not going any further, I'm going back. I've got friends going, come on, you boring bastard, let's go over the line and let's keep going. They're the ones who have lost everything, ruined everything. I think I've been more creative in the past 5 years than I have in the 90s, because it was always about, it was like trying to do your thing and partying. It wasn't like a job. It still doesn't feel like a job. But age, wisdom, and hindsight makes you realise that, well, you're not immortal. When you all probably think you're immortal, you're not. But when you get to your 50s, you realise, shit, I'll be 60 soon. I'll be 60 next year. Now that freaks me out. I remember at high school, all our friends, we worked out year 2000. Oh, that's decades away. Oh, we'll be 36 in the year 2000. And then before you know it, it was the year 2000, and we're all 36. And we all on the phone to each other, remember that conversation? Yeah. Anyway, the next thing is like, well, 40, yay. That seems like 10 minutes ago. I'm still battering it a bit in my 40s. Then you turn 50 and you think, oh, this shit's serious now, I'm 50. Yeah. Well, next year, 60. That's scary. Well, he's 10 years older than me. But I think not having hair helps. That went on the 1st of January 2021 because all the barbers were shut. But it was starting to do my head in. But I think I've shaved 10 years off, haven't I? Literally. No, I think if you said to me, right, do you want to go in the studio with this guy who's off his head and has got some mad ideas, or do you want to go in the studio with Johnny Marr, he's again the same age as me, who doesn't drink, hasn't touched drugs for decades, I'd go, Johnny, let's go in the studio. Because I think there's something about age and wisdom that you don't have when you're younger, stuff you learn in life that you can then apply to your craft, as long as you're still passionate and still want to do it and not want to just rest on your laurels and just do the boring stuff. I think that answers that question. But don't do drugs. Long term, for the rest of your life. It's a good job my sons aren't here.
Well, we're going to see your passion very shortly in the Student Union Bar, but right now, please make some noise for Graeme Park. Okay, so we're going to be in the Student Union Bar, so in around about sort of like 45 minutes time.